Now, the next option I tried out is a PTZ camera. Now, with this, you basically have something that's similar to this essentially, just with a bigger camera that is actually used for recording. So that can swivel left, right, tilt up and down, and then of course also zoom. I used an Obsbot Tail Air. This doesn't have optical zoom, but it's 4K. And they have a really, really cool remote that uses radio frequency. So it's very energy efficient. It works instantaneously, and they have a small joystick on top. So it works really well without the optical zoom. I think it works for youth fields quite well, but for really a full soccer field, it's not ideal. But it's all right. It's similar to essentially what you get with the Veo, etc. Obsbot nowadays has a Tail 2, which has a 5 times optical zoom, which I think is great. I think more than 5 times optical zoom will become quite challenging to manage as an amateur. And yeah, I think the risks are going to be too high that you miss stuff if you zoom in too much. I think higher levels of optical zoom are really just useful if you have multiple cameras where you can risk one camera just missing the action because you have the other one for replays and things like that. So yeah, I have a video for that as well. Obviously here, with the camcorder and PTZ camera, you don't have AI tracking. Now, in theory, these PTZ cameras do have AI tracking, but it's not for team sports. So it's really not practical for this use. It might be possible to use it to follow a specific player, but I suspect it's going to get confused very often as people run around. By the way, I forgot one more thing. If you want to live stream, you obviously need to be able to go into the internet. So I've been using the GLINet initially. I think this is really solid option, very compact, lightweight, fairly affordable. So basically you can tether your phone in order to go into the internet. I've now bought a more sophisticated option also from GLINet, which is this baby here. So this actually has a 5G support internally, so you can plug in your SIM card here. It has 4 5G antenna and 2 Wi-Fi antenna, so it's really powerful. It also has a battery in here, so this is the Pulley AX. So this is a really, really cool option as well. And yeah, maybe the other thing that I also have here is this battery. So this is really, really cool. You can power multiple devices. You also have a power socket on here. It's pretty heavy. I also have the X-Storm 70 or something like that, which is more compact. But this is cool. You can even attach a solar panel to this thing to charge it up during the day. Now, the next option I want to talk about is the Pix 4 Team. I've never owned this camera myself. I've read some reports from people that have both Pix 4 Team and Veo, or Pix 4 Team and the Chameleon. Overall, the AI tracking they have is apparently not as good as either of these two other options. But what's really cool about them is that they support using an actual camcorder. They recommend Sony 4K camcorders, and then they have a huge robot on which you put the camcorder on top, and that is then moved similar to the Chameleon. Now, what's cool about that is that with the camcorder, you actually can do very high levels of zoom. But most importantly, you have very clean HDMI going out that you can put into your video streamer, right? So that what makes it really cool. Also, their app is apparently also very useful and very easy to use. And you can also remote control manually via the app. So especially during timeouts, for example, you can then manually control it to capture the huddle of each team and doing things like that. Or before a kickoff, you could swivel across the faces of the team that is on offense or on defense. So that's pretty cool. It's also cool that they don't, like the basic service doesn't require a subscription. However, if you want to have scoreboards, cloud storage and analytics from them, you do need a subscription. And that brings me actually to another issue, is that it's actually a very, very expensive, bulky, heavy setup to buy. So it's over $3,000 to buy if you get a camcorder, and then you need a tripod and so on and so on. So it's quite expensive. Another option you could go with is using a drone. So here I have a DJI Neo. So that's pretty much the cheapest type of drone you can buy. I really like the fact that it has prop guards. But here, if you want to use it for live streaming, you can use RTMP out of this thing and into your video streamer. But that again is, not the highest resolution, not the highest frame rates. This Neo doesn't have an optical zoom either. So that's limiting. It only, flies maybe 10 minutes or so. But it could be used to getting, very nice shots for brief moments of time. But yeah, you want a separate person dealing with it. And that actually brings me to another sidebar on the legal side of recording. So depending on the country, they will have different laws mandating how you can, or if you're allowed to record people, spectators, and so on and so forth. So I generally advise you to communicate beforehand that you will be taking recordings. If people are participating as part of a federation or league, ideally have them sign waivers once a year that they approve of these recordings, have a sign up for spectators that they're aware that there will be recordings. But yeah, there's kind of this saying in Germany where you say there's kind of like, there's no judge if nobody sues you, right? So as long as you're being, upfront, I think for amateur sports, people will not get, pissy at you at all. Quite the opposite. They will appreciate your efforts. Now for drones, there are usually some other regulations, specifically around flying over crowds of people. And this is really, maybe it can get a little bit grayish, like, are a bunch of people on a field a crowd of players or not? Like, probably not. If they're in a huddle, technically yes. But the spectators might be considered a crowd. So that's why I think like having a drone with prop guards that is not too heavy is the only way to go. So like a DJI Mini 4 or something like that, I would not use in this use case unless you're a professional and certified. And of course, you can get a certification that does allow you to fly over crowds of people. Another option that I used for a while, and actually I don't have here right now because I lent it out, is the Reolink Duo, specifically the Reolink Duo I. It's similar to the Veo camera. It has two 4K cameras at an angle to basically shoot an 180-degree video, but it's much more affordable. It doesn't require a subscription, so the camera itself is like 150, but you do need a couple other things. The Reolink Duos, there are some with an internal battery, but those do not support continuous recording. You need to buy the one that draws power via PoE, power over Ethernet. And there are not really power banks with PoE support. So what you need in the end in order to power this thing is essentially a power bank with a power socket. And then you attach a PoE injector into that. And that PoE injector, you can then run a cable to the camera and to power it. And then basically I've configured my Reolink to automatically start recording. What's also a little bit annoying about this is that it records in 5-minute video snippets that you then need to stitch together, which is quite easy. You can use something like QuickTime for that. But it gets even more annoying. The SD card holder is behind a screwed plate. So you need to unscrew that. You can also get the video footage out of via Ethernet, but that is super slow. Yeah, and then once you stitch that all together, you have a video with minimal distortion that is 180 degrees. So it's really good for analytics and things like that. It's only 20 FPS. Again, doesn't matter for analytics. And I've actually used it to record one game at the Swiss Championships last year, and it recorded what I would consider an intentional foul. And the recording footage, I used iMovie to kind of capture that section of the video to kind of highlight where that happened. And yeah, and I think it kind of made the point quite nicely. There is a software called AutoCam from Once, and that's really cool because you can give it any 180 degree video footage and it will do something similar to the video, like this virtual panning within that video. So that way you can get use the Reolink to create the 180 degree video for your analytics purposes, and then use the Once AutoCam to get something that you can upload on YouTube for a spectator audience. So here's a link to a video that is unprocessed, here one that is processed, and here's the video of the intentional foul.